Canadian Grand Prix. A superb win.
For once, Ralph steals the spotlight from big brother Michael, the 3 times world champion. And here at the Nürburgring in qualifying, it's Michael on pole, Ralph alongside him on the front row. Germany's gone F1 crazy. It's race day at the Nürburgring. This place has been sold out for ages. Over 140,000 Germans are here, the vast majority of them wearing Michael Schumacher Ferrari red. I feel a bit like a gatecrasher at a massive exclusive private party. You search around for a bit of blue, Ralph Williams blue. It's devilishly difficult to find. The bottom line is these people don't care who wins today as long as his name's Schumacher.
I think we could be very happy with what the two of us achieved today. Unfortunately, Michael had to be quicker again, but that's life.
And my brother being second, so what better can happen to our home fans here?
A massive attendance to see those Schumachers. The weather here notoriously unpredictable. It's a magnificent day though. Temperature 20 degrees. Just a reminder of the drivers' standings as we hit the halfway stage in F1 2001. The brilliant Michael Schumacher leading David Coulthard by 18 points. Ralf Schumacher's Montreal victory puts the heat on Rubens Barrichello, but the Brazilian quickest in morning warm-up. The German Heidfeld in that lively Sauber, much happier with his season than double world champion Mika Hakkinen. Hello there, welcome to our ITV studio. Great spot for us this. We overlook the Vidal chicane that Michael Schumacher actually helped to design. Tony Jardine with me as always. Hi, Tony. And Patrick Head, Technical Director at Williams. Patrick, welcome to our little home here. Ralf Schumacher, you've just given him a very, very expensive, extended new contract. You must feel you've got a future world champion on your hands.
Yes, I don't want to talk about the numbers, but
I didn't ask you about the numbers.
I'm sure they're quite big. But obviously, we're looking to try and get some good, strong results over the next 3 years and stabilising. We're obviously not after Montreal, well before Montreal had concluded that Ralph was our man. So very pleased to get that part of the whole package sorted out. Yeah.
And he's with you till the end of 2004 at least. Now, Tony, if you look at the qualifying session, it looked at one stage as though Ralph might just get his first pole of his career.
Looking very strong indeed. I mean, Patrick and his technical team have done a wonderful job on this car. To think about people like Gavin Fisher, who's done a great job, chief designer. But to say, out there, he did a 15.3 and then he did a 15.2. And Ralph has just been put on such a great job. I think towards the end of last year, I know Patrick said one of the things to him, he's got to focus on his job, throw away the toys. The guys moved to Salzburg, so much more serious this year. But he says, look, it's our time to be successful now. Michael's done it all, it's my turn now.
Now, Juan Pablo Montoya, teammate to Ralph at Williams, first year in Formula One for the Colombian. He's had his problems in qualifying. What did you make of his performance yesterday?
Extremely good. I mean, he's third on the grid, 1 or 2 tenths behind Ralph. But I think an awful lot of expectation has been put on his shoulders, and he has very high expectations for himself. But in any normal terms, I think he's in a good position on the grid.
But Michael Schumacher, Tony, is on pole again, his 39th career pole. Only Senna on 65 has got more, and Schumacher the only man in the 114s.
Well, absolutely spell. I mean, this car is a fabulous car, but Ross Brawn was saying that they have 2 or 3 good basic setups, so the car is really good at all sorts of tracks. But what they did after Ralph put in that really strong time is they put on a bit more downforce, bit on the front wing, and then Michael went out and it almost looked effortless. He was almost on rails, and there he came back. Big brother, hand on little brother's shoulder. I'm having pole, pal.
Do you look a little bit at Michael Schumacher and at Ferrari, Patrick, and envy their reliability above all else?
Our reliability has not been good this year, but we've been putting a lot of effort in to put that round. I mean, I don't really envy Ferrari their reliability, but that sort of reliability that they've achieved this year is what we've got to be aiming for and better, because they have had 1 or 2 problems at Imola and other places.
Just remembering qualifying last year, Tony, I remember David Coulthard just pipped Michael Schumacher, but all sorts of problems for the McLarens and indeed for Coulthard here.
Well, it's interesting this morning, Ron Dennis at the press conference was talking about losing the rhythm, them taking their eye off the ball over the Newey situation. They believe it has had an effect. They believe they've been trying too hard. But what David has had is a lot of understeer and not getting the tyres to work properly. Well, on this his final shot, and a big understeer off wide, which of course causes problems, and they've ended up 5th and 6th, so they've underperformed in qualifying yet again.
What are your feelings about David Coulthard, and he's an old driver of yours, of course, and his tilt for the world title?
Well, I think he's still in a very good position. I mean, obviously McLaren have had some problems this year, and really quite un-McLaren-like. I mean, usually they're quite strong in the electronics area, and yet they've had quite a few problems with getting off the line and things like that. I think David is a much stronger driver than he was. He's always been good, but I think he's added a bit of mental toughness, and I see a bit more fluidity in some of his driving now than before. So I still think he's in there.
The shout. Good. Plenty for him to do today, though. Tony, just take us through the grid.
Yeah, well, it's the brothers on the front row of the grid again for the second time after Brazil and Canada. But will Ralph do what he did to his brother in '97 here and take him off? Montoya, has Patrick spoken to him and said, you've got to bring it home today, son, be good. Barrichello will be worrying whether he's going to get taken off by the Colombian again, as he was in Canada. Coulthard and Hakkinen together on the third row. Both those cars underperforming, not getting the tyres working properly, whereas both the Jordans have done a good job. They're both happy with their handling. Then you've got the two young shavers in the Sauber team, both in the top 10. Very good job from them. Villeneuve changed the car, but not his luck. And then Irvine happier. He's a bit closer, he says, to the midfield pack. All French 7th row there of Alesi and Panis together. Fisichella happy with the car in 15th slot, but he said we're waiting for that more power in France. De La Rosa next to him. Then the two Brazilians together, Bernaldi and Berti. Verstappen re-signed his contract, but he spent a day on the sidelines with power steering problems. Button oversteer problems. Marquez happier. He's 0.06 of a second just behind Alonso. Good for him, and that's the back of the grid.
You know, my first sector time, I couldn't really get it together. I was about a tenth of this morning. That is quite disappointing. And the last run I got it, and then, braked a bit too late for the hairpin and blew it off. But, the time was there. Since this morning it was really good. We did a change for the last run, and it's a bit too much oversteer to drive.
If you count everything that it went bad in qualifying, it was a good day because I'm still 4th ahead of the McLarens. But if you see that it could have been so much better, then you're disappointed.
The trend has been that Ferrari has been better qualifiers and we've been better relatively in race conditions. The difficulty comes when you end up being behind another Ferrari and a couple of Williams. So you have to say we're in for a difficult weekend.
Well, David Coulthard has never actually won the European Grand Prix, but he's got a pretty good record on the podium 4 times out of 5. He has plenty to do, though, to catch those Schumachers who seem to be relishing every second of their home Grand Prix. They live in a little town not too far away from here, their hometown. Well, what is it, a few miles away from where I'm talking to you at the Nürburgring. Louise Goodman reporting.
I'm 50 kilometres from the Nürburgring on the outskirts of Kerpen. It's just an ordinary little German town, but it gave rise to an extraordinary racing family. This is where Michael and Ralf Schumacher spent their childhood. Just a stone's throw from the house where the brothers grew up is the Kerpen and Mannheim Kart Club, which was run by their parents, Elizabeth and Rolf. This, quite literally, was the brothers' backyard, so it's hardly surprising that they took to racing at such an early age. Michael was already an established kart star by the time Ralf took to the track, and he put his experience to good use, engineering his younger brother. Whilst the children were racing, Rolf and Elizabeth Schumacher worked 7 days a week to pay the bills. Michael wasn't just Ralph's mechanic, he was also his biggest supporter, but his brotherly advice sometimes fell on deaf ears.
Er ist ein sehr eigensinniger Typ. Er reagiert manchmal sehr überhitzt darauf. Er lässt sich nicht immer was von mir sagen. Das ist ein Problem bei ihm. Aber im Großen und Ganzen kommen wir ganz gut zurecht.
13 years later, the brothers are now sharing the same stage and the stakes are much higher, but Ralf is still fiercely independent.
I've always done pretty much my own thing. I've always
driven my car, and I came to Formula One. And I think even for my circumstance, I was always pretty successful. That's why I always thought I'm pretty much my own person, and I've never compared myself with Michael. And so maybe that's the reason that it is no different for me today as well.
Willy Weber has managed the brothers since the early days and has played a significant part in both Michael and Ralph's success.
Well, at the beginning it was very difficult for him, because everywhere he comes he says, oh, this is the little brother of Michael. Ralf Schumacher is his own personality, he's his own driver. He wins races without helping by Michael. Now he's Ralf Schumacher.
The Schumachers are the only brothers in the history of the sport to have both won Grand Prix, something their father never envisaged all those years ago.
Wie die zwei dazu kommen, weiß ich nicht. Aber ich habe mir da schon meine Gedanken gemacht, aber ich habe noch nie Angst gehabt, was da passiert. Wenn man auch den Unfall jetzt von der Formel 1 zu sehen, sollte man ja meinen, lieber, der kommt dann nicht mehr raus. Und ich denke auch nicht an die Formel.
Karting was the ideal proving ground for the young Schumachers to learn their trade.
Meinst du, wir können dann einen Zahn hochgehen oder was? 15.000. Ja, dann gehen wir einen Zahn hoch.
Nein.
Komm, Helm weg hier, sonst verkratzt er nachher, wir müssen aufpassen.
All the in-fight situation, you learn the best way in karting. There's so close competition, wheel-to-wheel contact, and you do get a lot of knowledge in that kind of situation in terms of general behavior, how to drive a four-wheel vehicle, and get some experience in terms of that you have to work in terms of setup to achieve something. It's not only good get in and do the best, it's to prepare the best and then do the best. And these kind of things, they give you a very good school in karting.
I think they was growing up on a kart circuit, on a kart center, and after the school there was nothing else to do driving kart. And if you begin such with 4 years, and Ralf I think with 3 years or same age, and you drive your whole day long kart, it comes in your blood. And even I think Michael Schumacher is born as a race driver. God says this is a race driver. He's one of, for me, the completest race driver in the world.
But some would say Ralf is fast catching up, and some of the credit for that success lies at Big Brother's door. Whenever Ralf has needed to lean on him, Michael has always been there, even for those tricky early interviews.
Also sprachlos.
Ja, weiß nichts.
Ich könnte mir vorstellen, wenn man an der Spitze fährt oder so, dann ist das schon ein beruhigendes Gefühl, als wie wenn man einen im Nacken hinter sich hat, und ich glaube, es ist angenehmer dann.
They're breathing down each other's necks today, side by side on the grid, just a stone's throw from where it all began.
There we are then, Patrick. Fair to say that Ralf might have had 1 or 2 sausages in his early life, isn't he? He's changed a bit, isn't he?
Yes, he has, but I now know that I can have a slightly different response when he teases me about being a bit on the bulky side.
Yes, you might want a copy of that video before.
It would be interesting to take it with me.
We'll sort that out. We'll sort that out for you. What about the influence of his big brother? I mean, how much has he had to live in the shadow of Michael, do you feel?
We haven't really seen it a lot. He doesn't spend a lot of time talking about Michael or what Michael would do, but I certainly think in a productive way, it's one of the targets of his career is to be better than Michael or faster than Michael. But I was thinking the other day whether there was any similarity between the two and the two Williams sisters in tennis. Not physically, but but it is an interesting one because they're obviously going to come up against each other in lots of matches. And I would say over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see a lot of the two Schumacher brothers competing with each other.
How significant in his development, Patrick, was the win last time out in Montreal for Ralf?
It was a good win, and obviously in a good way racing without Michael having a problem as he had at Imola. But it doesn't mean that suddenly he's better than Michael because he won that race. But the win was very good for him, and I'm sure is part of his progress.
There are high hopes for your other driver, Juan Pablo Montoya. Has he been a bit erratic? Have you been surprised by some of the things he's done?
Well, they haven't been ideal, have they, looking at the television there? It's the first time I've seen that. But I think a lot of expectation was put on him. He puts a lot of expectation on himself. I think he has all the talent. People can see him on the circuit, that it looks as if the car's going to get away from him at any moment, but somehow he seems to be able to manage it. I think it just needs a bit of little bit of calming, and if we can get a result or two under his belt, I think he'll progress well from there.
He had that well-publicised spat with Jacques Villeneuve. Have you told him to calm down a bit, as Tony suggested there, and concentrate on the racing?
I haven't talked to him about that. I think Frank had a word, and I mean, certainly it's not a good thing for drivers to be... basically, the drivers have got to concentrate on what they're doing, so hopefully that's behind him now.
Right, leave it there for a moment, Patrick, because I want to hear from a man who had a great season with Williams last time round, but is now even struggling to score a point. And Jenson Button will be starting down the back once again in the Benetton. Ted Kravitz reporting.
This is the crunch point of the season for Benetton and for Button. Throughout the difficult times this year, the team have promised that they would start to turn the corner in time for the French Grand Prix in 7 days' time. But if Benetton don't start to deliver improvements in the next couple of races, they can pretty much write off the rest of the season.
It's a lot of everything, I think. On the engine side, obviously, it's not the best engine in the world, and it hopefully will be over the next few races. But there's also other things, aerodynamic things and other things in the car which aren't quite there. But there's always improvements. So for Manicourt, there'll be a change, and also after that, in the next few races, there'll be slight changes. So we'll see what we do in Manicourt. First practice, we're going to see what the engine can do, and we're not going to be able to compare us against anyone until qualifying.
For the team to debut that revised engine in the first time session next Friday is extremely risky. They won't know until the cars start to turn a wheel in front of an expectant public whether the thing is going to work or not. The situation has visibly sapped Jenson's energy and spirit. Do you remember the young star who wowed F1 at Williams last year? Well, compare that to 12 months on.
Yeah, I don't really like being in the back of the field though. It's not much fun.
Now everyone knows that the problem is the car and not Jenson, as his gritty drive to 7th at Monaco showed. But what's more alarming is the gap between Button and his teammate Giancarlo Fisichella.
There is a big difference between us at the moment in time, which isn't fantastic for me, but I think it's more down to the car than anything else. I just can't find what I want, what I like on the car, and I don't know what's happening there. It's really, really difficult to know what the problem is.
Towards the end of last year, Button was proving just as quick as his Williams rival Ralf Schumacher. So what goes through his mind when Ralf now comes through to lap him on his way to race wins?
Well, I haven't got long to think really, because it's only normally one corner or two corners, so don't get much time to think about much. But I don't think like, wow, I was there last year, I wish I was this year, or anything like that. I mean, they're doing well, but obviously I'm not there, and I was never going to be there. So hopefully we're just going to do the best we can this year, and then next year we can hopefully be somewhere near them.
It's hard to find many positives about Jenson's current situation, but that's just what he has to try and do. It's been 9 races since his last points finish. Let's hope it's not 9 more till the next.
Yeah, I've had a lot of pain this year, and I'm still going at the moment, but hopefully we can get over that soon, because I'm getting bored of it now.
Lots of pain, Patrick, not much fun. His demeanour is so different this year to what it was 12 months ago. What do you make of his current situation?
Well, I think the demeanour's inevitable. I mean, he's a professional racing driver. That makes up the greatest part of his life, and it's not going very well for him at the moment, obviously. But we saw enough of Jenson last year to have absolutely no doubt that there's a great talent there, and there's obviously a problem at the moment in that he can't match Fisichella's times, and he's got to work that out, and I'm sure he will work it out, and when he does, I think he'll be stronger for it.
Sure, you've got him on that contract that sees him come back to you after a couple of years, and people have added 2 and 2 together and said, well, you've got Montoya, you've sort of got a lot of faith in, you've signed Ralph to 2004. Is there going to be a place for Jenson with Williams?
Well, we've got an option on Jenson for 2003 onwards, and obviously at a future date, probably sometime in the middle of next year, we've got to decide whether to exercise that option or not. But I'm sure by that time these problems that Jenson's having will be well behind him.
What do you make of that, Tony, that interview?
Well, I just see the guy is struggling, but as you know, Frank Williams has said, as well as Patrick, he's on a big learning cycle. We have no doubt at Williams whatsoever that he is a supreme talent. He's born to drive a Grand Prix car.
OK, Patrick, just over half an hour to go to the start. I know you've got to get back. We appreciate your presence here. You're getting on your bike to go to Manicourt next weekend.
Well, this is supposed to be a secret.
Oh, well, no one's going to follow you, don't worry. You're going to get a bike down and tell us about it.
The wife knows now.
Yeah. I know, it's bad. It's really just some bulky old boys on there. Actually, that's being that's being unfair to one of them, actually, who would be most upset about that. But it's some friends of mine, good friends of mine, and myself, and we've done it for the last few years, and the route we take down through France offers us a few good watering holes on the way down, and it's just a nice relaxation.
Have a very good ride down there, won't you? And nobody will know. There's no one really watching this. Don't worry about it. And just a final thought about the race this afternoon. What are your expectations? What are your hopes?
I think Michael is very strong here. I'm not saying we can't take the race to him, but I feel slightly less confident than I did at Montreal. But we'll give it a good fight, but it should be very interesting. But I think the man who's running down to the betting shop would probably get very short odds on Michael. So it's probably worth having a go at Ralph.
Thanks, Patrick.
Good.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Don't forget to buy some pies for him on the way down.
OK, we're going to hop aboard, actually, one of Patrick's Williams cars now for a flying lap of the Nürburgring, close on 3 miles round, some tricky curves to ride. We've seen pile-ups at the first couple of corners. Martin Brundle's your guide, and Juan Pablo Montoya is at the wheel.
Right, hold on tight. We're on board with Mr. Aggression Montoya in his Williams, heading down the pit straight at 185 miles an hour. Notice something straight away. He's not downshifting. The car is doing it automatically as he's riding and bouncing across the curbs. Look.
That's the lap that's put the Colombian behind the Schumachers at the start of the European Grand Prix. If you're watching our coverage of the Austrian Grand Prix, you'd have seen Ross Kemp sampling life as a Jordan mechanic. He's going to try and do the job for real at the British Grand Prix. Well, changing a wheel is his task this weekend.
My hand's on aim before you. Is it coming?
Let's hold it across the top.
Watch your fingers in there, yeah? Okay.
Sorry.
See, what was that?
It's got to come off square.
I lifted it that way. I've got to pull it. I have to pull it from both sides. The bottom, top, and bottom, yeah. So one more go. There. You go in. You think that looks easy? I'm going to be able to do that.
And then just as you come back, just flick that with the top of your wrist.
And that's...
Just kneel down like that, it's quite easy.
And that way now, back that way.
Yeah.
Put it on. And then put my hand across there and pull it back out?
Yeah.
That is too violent, isn't it?
You alright?
Hang on. Do me flies up. 1, 2, 3. Go. Down on.
That's it.
That way. That. Now break the wheel, boys.
Break the gun. There's your spare gun.
No, come on. This ain't going to happen.
Push it square on.
It ain't going to happen. I'll bust
Push it straight. Push
like
it.
that. Oh, right.
That's it, go. Take it away.
Right, ain't going to happen.
Put it out. Hand in the air. Top the...
No way. That was it. I'm never going to ever do that. I broke it. That's it, boys.
A few dramas for Ross Kemper in the pits, and a few dramas as well for Michael Schumacher here at the Nürburgring. He's had some trouble with his Ferrari, and he's had to take a ride back as well. It's dramatic stuff going on, Tony.
It is, and it looks like it was stuck in gear there, and this is quite ironic because what's happened is they pushed the car off. He's trying to find that shortest way back and actually arguing there with the marshals. They're saying, no, you can't go this way, and he's running across. Here's the irony. Look what he's about to borrow here, this little motorcycle. It's a BMW motorcycle.
Good spot, good spot.
And that will power him on his way back to pits. Now, the spare car will be ready, I have no doubt, because in warm-up this morning, as usual, he tried the training car, the spare car, and it will be all set up for him. He's got to get back in time. There he is waving and punching his fist towards and heading back, and the mechanics waiting for him to come back and take his place. Now, he's looking for directions again.
OK, we're going to leave you for a couple of moments, but of course we will follow that story when you rejoin us. With us at the Nürburgring. Let's give you the latest news about Michael Schumacher on pole here for the European Grand Prix, but having all sorts of problems with the start just over 20 minutes away. From the Ferrari garage, Louise Goodman reporting.
Yes, all sorts of problems for Michael. The team are unable to tell us at the moment exactly what that problem is, but I can tell you Michael is in his race car now. That was the spare car that we saw him in earlier on. He was taking it for an exploratory lap, so he is back in his race car. He's just left the garage and gone out on the track. The team seemed quite calm, but obviously not the ideal start to the Grand Prix for them.
Thank you very much indeed, Louise. Well, Michael Schumacher is indeed out on the track. Tony Jardine, just a momentary blip, that or a real problem? What do you think?
Well, it looked like quite a problem there, because if he was taking out the spare car, it means he's undecided as to which one to use. And if he gets time, he likes to try and use both of them. But he still has his race car.
Okay, his 3 wins make him the European Grand Prix's most successful driver. He's actually the only man to win this race from pole as well. But what a contrast this year in the fortunes of his old rival Mika Hakkinen. He's actually 50 points behind the German, and the young Finn Kimi Raikkonen is all set to take over that flying Finn banner. Now just check this out, will you? After 8 rounds, Hakkinen's points total. In 1998 he had scored 50 points. It was 40 in 99 and 32 last year. He spoke to race commentator James Allen after another low-key qualifying session.
We have definitely slight problems with the car and not able to get the power down in the low-speed corners without losing a rear end, so there's a lot of work to do to be able to fix it.
It's amazing to think that Mika Hakkinen, the king of the qualifying lap, has not had pole position for 14 races now. McLaren once had the edge over its rivals on Saturday afternoons, but this season, despite a couple of poles for David Coulthard, it's been disappointing for the team, and especially Hakkinen. But it's not just qualifying where the Finn has struggled, it's been in the race as well.
If you compare to my and Ralph's time in Canada, there was 1 second difference. So we had to understand it's not only the qualifying. Definitely I was struggling today. David was also. We made a more or less identical lap time, finished 5th and 6th, which is not nice. And also in Canada, you know, the positions to start the race was not fantastic.
With just 8 points from 8 races, it's been a disastrous start to the season for the former champion. Even last year, which started slowly, he was on 32 points by this stage. On top of that, there have been some major disappointments, like the win which eluded him on the last lap in Spain.
He is going to have won this race 4 years in
He's slowing down, Murray.
Mika Hakkinen tours, bang, the engine's gone.
Well, obviously it has been a disappointing season, but at the moment I just take a race by race and not concentrating, thinking about the championship, you know, because that is bit too much to think about it, to be honest, you know.
So where does he go from here? There have been rumours all season that he's contemplating retirement, and yet this weekend there are stories he's on the verge of signing a new contract for a record-breaking 10th season at McLaren. Either way, he clearly doesn't want to talk about it.
I understand that you're thinking about doing another deal, obviously close to doing another deal. If you did drive for McLaren next year, It'll be your 10th season, Mika.
Thank you.
10th season.
Kimi Raikkonen, the undoubted sensation of this year's Grand Prix season. He's already gained the respect and friendship of fellow Finn and double world champion Mika Hakkinen. We've all been amazed at his consistent and early pace at all Grand Prix, despite never having driven at 7 of the 8 tracks. Enjoy this glimpse of his commitment and aggression earlier this weekend. We asked him and his support team about the season so far.
It has been a very good start of the season for me and for the team. I think so. The team also didn't expect that they will be fourth. I was just waiting for maybe a couple points this year and I would be happy, but I don't mind. It has been very good for me, and of course I'm always thinking, I think so every driver thinks that one day they want to get in top teams, but I think so it's too early yet, and we need to finish this season and try to do as good job as we can, and then we can look.
He's the hottest property in Formula 1 right now, and you know, basically, obviously, he's here for a few years, and I think it's a great place for him to be. But after that, you know, he wants to be world champion, so hopefully one of the big teams, or I'm sure one of the big teams, will pick him up.
I think the basic talent is there, so he has the ability to go fast, very fast, so he doesn't need a lot of time to learn, and that you can show in each car for sure. Now, I think he has the luck that the car is quite competitive this year, which gives him the possibility of scoring points early in his career, which is a very nice thing. He has the talent, the ability to arrive at the track, to walk one lap, that's enough, and then from the first outing, let's say, he's within 1 or 1.5 seconds what the car can do, without any risks, just natural. So I think he has this kind of space view to be able to analyze very quickly where to put the wheels, and but to go quick straight away.
For me, it's never been difficult to learn new circuits. Like today was quite easy to learn the circuit, but then it's just a matter of getting the setup right, and so of course sometimes the car is not good enough for the top 10 places, but that's the life, and we always try to make the car better and quicker, but it's quite difficult always.
7 important World Championship points to his credit already, including this strong and mature 4th place at the Austrian Grand Prix. How can a 21-year-old have so much confidence?
Maybe with the end of the race I was looking that I will finish 4th, and was a bit not so good consideration, but then the second time in Canada was much easier because you know already how to do it the last 20 laps, and it was a very nice feeling.
The world is at Kimi's feet for sure. Now he's obviously it's up to us to make sure that the next move after being at Sauber is the right move for him. For sure, he has all the ability to be a world champion, and obviously when people like Mika and Mika retire, that he's just 21 years of age and he's got many years in Formula 1, and I'm sure he will be a world champion.
Right, Tony, no doubting Raikkonen's talent, but what's going to happen to Mika? Is he retiring?
It's difficult to know. There are some strong rumours in the paddock that McLaren are trying to get him to re-sign, and there's talk of inducing him by saying there'll be special arrangements next year to bring his young son Hugo here, because he does miss him and he does need a lot of motivating at the moment. But what Ron Dennis said this morning is he admitted for the first time that the Newey situation has been destabilising the team. They've lost their rhythm, they've been trying too hard. That's also been affecting Hakkinen.
Yeah, yes, a couple of weeks ago we were all wondering about what was going to happen, because McLaren and Jaguar were battling for the services of Formula One's top designer, and now Adrian Newey has decided he's going to stay right where he is with McLaren.
I did sign an agreement with Jaguar, which I've quickly realised was not the right decision, so I changed my mind. Told them very shortly after I had signed this I did want to change my mind. What I was slightly surprised by is, despite that, I'm told by several journalists that they not only decided to go ahead and issue the press release, but actually issued it earlier than had originally been scheduled. But I can't explain why.
So what made you change your mind?
One of the things that I'm always seeking is to be creative. And I suppose sometimes I worry about where the next idea, the next stimulus is going to come from. So one way of creating fresh stimulus was to move teams, but I realised that that's not really the best reason to change teams, that with a bit of reorganisation within McLaren that stimulus could be achieved at McLaren.
doesn't just involve him either at this stage of the season. There is plenty of contractual speculation. We're also wondering what's going to happen in the race. First, here's Louise to tell us who's going where.
A few deals have been hatched out in the paddock this weekend, Jim, but there's been a lot of conjecture too. The biggest question mark is over Mika Hakkinen. Will he re-sign for McLaren or will he retire at the end of the year? Whatever Mika decides, David Coulthard looks set to stay with the team, perhaps for a further 2 years. Jordan took the unusual step of issuing a press release confirming that Heinz-Harald Frenzen's contract has another year to run. There's been a lot of speculation this weekend that he was going to go and join Toyota instead. And Jos Verstappen isn't going anywhere. Arrows have also confirmed that he's re-signed for the team till the end of next year. But of course the big announcement as far as driver signings are concerned is that Ralf Schumacher is staying at Williams until the end of 2004. It's been a great weekend for the German so far, and it will get all the better if he wins this afternoon. Here's James with news on strategy for the race.
Well, it's a great story having the two Schumacher brothers on the front row of the grid. But as regards the story of who's actually going to win this race, well, that's going to come down to strategy. Now, they're on different tyres, of course, and the signs are that the Michelins on the Williams are not holding up as well in race conditions as the Bridgestones on the Ferrari and the McLaren. Now, traditionally, Nürburgring has always been a two-stop race, but they've changed the pit lane here, and it's made pit stops longer. And that means now that 2 stops is only 10 seconds faster than 1 stop. That's enough to make 1-stop strategy attractive. So if we're really lucky, we might see a mixture of 1 and 2 stops this afternoon, and then we really will be kept guessing until the final minutes who's going to win the European Grand Prix.
Thanks, James. James will be alongside that fellow, Martin Brundle, in the commentary box. Hi, Martin. What's the latest down there on the grid about the Schumachers then?
Well, lots of stories here on the grid, and what do you want to know? Looking great for the Germans today. I'm sure you'll be absolutely thrilled to hear. Both the front row sitters are German, all 4 of them in the top 10. BMW and Mercedes-Benz looking good too. But Michael Schumacher here has had to go into the spare car because he's had a problem out on the track, and we're going to try and catch a quick word with them shortly. I want to take an opportunity. I can see Ralf Schumacher standing here not being bothered too much, and excuse me, Ralf, so we just had a wonderful piece on our programme about you and Michael when you were kids on the karting and all that. It must be a wonderful feeling to be beside him on the grid here in Germany.
It's a great feeling, certainly, especially here, and I just hope that we have a good race together.
Now in Canada you were beside him, but you know you're on the outside into turn 1. Here you're on the inside with a good long run down to that first corner. You must be more confident you can beat him down there.
I mean, there is a good possibility as long as the start procedure works as usual. Yeah, there might be a chance.
Okay, try and tell the British viewers this. You were saying yesterday you're expecting your tyres to be difficult at the beginning. Are you just sandbagging, or do you really believe that? And if so, why?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it became hot, so that might help us. But still, there's not a lot of rubber, and then we went for a softer tyre, and then you abuse it as green as the circuit is in a moment. So the more the rubber comes in, the better it is for our tyre, and it will save it, and then we can push harder.
So it's like a chemistry thing, yeah? You need the track to come to your tyre.
Exactly.
But you said that in Canada, then you just walked away with it.
Well, but that was towards the end, wasn't it? Before that, I was sitting behind Michael, so we'll wait and see.
Okay, so you're obviously pretty confident here with the BMW Williams.
Well, it's all the reasons for it, isn't it? I mean, whatever we do today, I hope that we score points and be on the podium. I mean, everything is good for that, and we might be able to beat Michael. We'll see.
Well, now Michael had to jump in. His car's already broken down on the track. Does that give you a psychological push, an advantage?
No, not really. I mean, it was his T car, so he's back into his race car now, so I think they're well prepared.
Thanks for talking to us. Let's see if we can find somebody over here at Ferrari and just get a quick piece on. Ross, what's going on? A few dramas for you here on pole position.
We had a problem with the spare car this morning, first thing, a little problem, so we thought we'd fixed it, and he just did an installation in the T car, so it'd be ready for the race. Obviously, whatever we did, didn't fix it. But it was his T car. He's out in the race car, and we've got the T car back now. We'll have a look and see what went wrong.
Now, are you exposed? Let's say there's a first corner incident. Are you exposed now? You don't have a spare car for Michael.
It depends what it takes to fix it.
All right, so you're feverishly working away. It's potentially fixable, yeah?
I don't know. We've got to look at what went wrong, but it was a complete cut, so it sounds like a plug's come undone or something similar to that.
Now, how much does this put you off your stroke? Do you think it affects somebody like Michael or you guys on the pit wall?
No. I mean, Michael just said, I hope we got the drama over for the day now, so we can carry on. So, no, it happens.
Now today you've got to try and fight off the Williams whilst keeping a championship lookout for Coulthard and Hakkinen. What are you expecting to happen?
Well, it is difficult because obviously Williams are on Michelins with a different characteristic. Probably a bit slower initially, but they seem to get good as the race goes on. And McLaren are on the same tyres as us, so you try and defend against two scenarios. So it's not easy. But I think as long as we make a decent start, then we should be okay.
Okay, yeah, thanks very much for that, Ross. Well, incredible activity, and that's just the first two cars on the grid. Back to you, Jim.
Well done, Martin. Excellent information from down there on the grid, and the scene is now set for the European Grand Prix. Germany expecting a Schumacher triumph here. Michael's red Ferrari fan club, 140,000 plus packed into the circuit, but we have seen all those pre-race problems. We've spoken to Ralph, very relaxed indeed, and starting alongside Big Brother on the front row. You can expect 180 mile an hour dash to the first corner, and David Coulthard really needs a clean getaway this afternoon. We're about to discover the identity of the 2001 Euro star.